How do you see what are the key to post sales integration making that successful?
I think, again, as Graham said earlier, contract catering businesses are quite used to that process because of the integration of new clients and onboarding new clients and staff when you win new business. So it's that, but bigger, really. I think you have to allocate a dedicated team, though, to do it. It has to be quite sophisticated. I think the messaging has to be very timely and clear, because I think in these situations, rumors start and misinformation, people don't hear information, so they fill in the gaps for themselves, which is invariably wrong. So I think you just have to keep the communication going regularly to satisfy people's curiosity with what's happening with the business and where it's going. And that's both client facing and employee facing. It's both sides that needs to happen. And I think rewinding slightly, as part of the preparation for exiting or selling the business, the founders, I think, should be taking a little bit of a backward step, because there probably will become a time where they're not in the business. So that, I think, dovetails in nicely to the senior management team having a stake in the success of the business, both whilst it's operating and then at the point of exit, because they're probably more likely to be still in the business. And as Graham said, I think a potential acquirer will look at the strength and skills of the senior management team. So I think the founders of the business should be, someone once told me the art of management is making yourself redundant so that you become the grand conductor. So I think, at the point of exit, the founders should be important in that they still have, strong client relationships and employee relationships, but the business isn't dependent, or the success of the business and the financial success of the business isn't dependent on that. But the other key box to tick is the IT integration. That's so hard these days because everyone's got slightly different systems, and that takes a huge amount of effort to get right. You're having to retrain employees on their catering management system, which they'll be using at, unit level. So lots of training and development. And we did like a buddy system whereby you would have groups of contracts, maybe 3 or 4, and you'd have one lead contract that the other contracts could go to. So the manager there would act as like a help desk to the other units who were much smaller and maybe didn't have as many staff, because sometimes trying to get through to a helpline or raising a ticket, some IT helplines have a ticket which you raise a ticket, but then you might not get a reply for 24 hours, and even 24 hours is a long time when you're trying to order food for the following week. So yeah, it's not without its challenges, but it's just a question of organization and throwing resources at it.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that, Graham, from your side? Do you also normally stay involved during the post integration? Do you normally leave it there? And yeah, what are some of the things you have seen, and have you maybe seen it go also terribly wrong? Or how do you normally see this play out in this industry?
So as a firm, we actually do a lot of post merger integration support. On deals. Now, I think what we certainly seen in this industry is buyers have become much more sophisticated at this process. I think, cast your mind back 15 years ago, and a little bit the sense was, well, make the acquisition day one, everything goes onto buyers' systems, all the procurement switches, just absorb into the buyer and how the buyer does things. I think, nowadays buyers are really looking at, again, going back to that point, what is it that makes the target special? What is it that makes it different? Go to great lengths to preserve that. So really the message for clients is, again, day one, business as usual. Nothing's changing. You'll see the same people on site, the same people in the kitchens, buying from the same places. Don't worry. Everything will carry on. You're not going to notice any immediate difference. And then slowly go through that process of maybe the switch over onto sort of IT systems, onto, certain procurement lines will be switched because it kind of makes sense. And actually it does save money, and there's no difference in quality of what's provided to the customer. And so I think that the effort to make sure that clients and team members feel as though it's very much business as usual, same as it was. And Rustin's right, just over communicate, because in the absence of communication, people do fill the gaps, and they don't tend to fill the gaps with very optimistic things. They can worry a great deal about what's going on behind the scenes. So
people don't like change, full stop, do they? So
no, that's right. And people tend to assume the worst rather than the best. So make sure you've got a communication plan that's all ironed out in advance and ready to go, and then delivered consistently post acquisition.